Let me try that again. Good evening, everybody. It is 5:30 and a half on the dot. Welcome to the Solid Waste Subcommittee of the Planning and Engineering. Tonight we are going to, hello Mayor, tonight we are going to have a second and a half interview with Republic Services to go into a final Q&A with them regarding their RFP. When you guys come up, please introduce yourselves once again for the record and for the audience at home. They have about a dozen or so slides, and then we're going to get right into a Q&A session. So we have nearly a full house of committee members. We are minus Commissioner Blair and Chairman Craig Harris. But we still have a solid team here, and thank you everybody for coming. So gentlemen of Republic Services, whoever your spokesperson or persons would be, please come on up. And again, talking to the lectern microphone, don't feel bad about having your back to us, because your audience are the masses out there in TV land.
Very good.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for having us back. Really a privilege for us to be here tonight, speaking with you again about this incredibly important initiative that y'all are undertaking here. My name is Mike Klassen. I've met most of you, but again, I'm the general manager for Republic Services on the post-collection side. So Derek will introduce himself. He's the one who picks it all up, and once you put it down, that's what it all comes to me. So managing all of our operations here in Middle Tennessee. So what we want to do, we certainly don't want to run through our presentation again, be respectful of everyone's time. It's been a few months since we all got together. So our hope was just to kind of have most of these slides are just in support of Q&A, which includes all of the specifics that we put in our RFP. I think we included a lot of different programmatic steps, phases 1, 2, and 3 for each of the 6 components that the committee had put together, the county had put together. And so we have that as backup if there's specific questions on any of those items, wanted to have that. But just to get started, just kind of a brief high level, since it's been so long since we've all gotten together, wanted to start with, actually real quick, we'll finish introductions first. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but you want to do an introduction here and then.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Derek Wolf, General Manager, Republic Services here in Middle Tennessee. As Mike stated before, I'm on the hauling side, so collections, pick up everything in between Nashville and Murfreesboro and deliver it to Middle Point landfill.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so kind of jumping back to the genesis of sort of what we've heard as part of putting our RFP presentation together. And I think, to us, one thing we really want to emphasize is, this is the community we've been in since 1989. So this is the home to our employees, to our customers, to the vendors that work for us, over 70 employees who live and work right here in Rutherford County. We really are a part of this decision process. We are your constituents, right? So we're not just on the presenting side and on the solution side. We're on the users and the constituent side as well. And what we've heard from listening to you and the discussions we've had is, Rutherford County looks to lead Tennessee by building a modern, integrated solid waste system, which really will be the first of its kind in the state. As you all well know, recycling and diversion is a major problem here in the state, and y'all are looking to be leaders in moving forward with that. A key part of that is implementing maximum diversion of recyclables, organics, and other materials. That's a core foundation of what you're looking to accomplish as part of this RFP process. In order to do that, needs to include an engagement and education of the community to help adopt those recycling habits, all those proper habits to get a program off the ground and ensure strong participation. Incumbent is that in that is disposing as little municipal solid waste in the landfill as possible. And then on top of that is limiting the risk to Rutherford County by acquiring and remediating your landfill. So I know y'all have looked at sort of separating that and segregating it out as a different evaluation, but certainly that was a core part of the RFP and is something that we heard as a priority for you. Ultimately, all of that wrapping into committing to a long-term, safe, affordable, and environmental responsible solution. Certainly the affordable side of that is particularly important. We're talking about the constituents. So there were 6 items that were included in the RFP. Not going to go through all of them, and hopefully there'll be questions about each of them. I think they're all incredibly important in their own right. But we were very proud to say that every single one of those 6 items, community education, collection, processing of recyclables, transportation, disposal, and landfill reclamation. All 6 of those items were things that the committee specifically asked for as part of the RFP. So, I think a lot of the conversation is going to centralize around disposal tonight and the landfill itself, and understandably so. But, important that we continue to emphasize that this is a 6-part RFP, of which landfill is just one component. So speaking of the landfill, we sort of tried to show the landfill as, at Middle Point Landfill, as sort of the economic engine which has the capacity to, with the expansion, with the 25 years of disposal capacity that was specifically requested by the committee, the Middle Point Landfill to sort of be the opportunity to subsidize all of these other revenue negative or revenue neutral programs, of which recycling, composting, public education certainly fall into that category. So this was one idea, one concept of a land use plan we talked about. We really wanted to spend, there's been a lot of misinformation that has come out in the recent weeks, recent months regarding the proposed expansion that's out there. So this is a land use plan we talked about. Middle Point sitting there in the center. In yellow to the north and south are the potential areas that have been identified as for the expansion. You'll notice to the north, it doesn't go all the way up to Jefferson Pike. It comes off of Jefferson Pike a ways, so there would be considerations for offsets, for visual screening, for safety. We also show this yellow, which is a potential expansion area to the south. So, the north is not the only option that we want to explore. We would certainly be interested, as part of that 25-year disposal capacity requested by the county, we certainly would be interested and extremely open to the option of instead expanding south onto the existing county landfill. Other programmatic areas that are sort of included on this, we understand there's another plot of land that the city and county may be interested in a public-private partnership. Certainly happy to talk about that a little more, but up there in the blue towards the top is an area that we have earmarked for a recycling facility, both for hauling and collection, as well as a material recovery facility where we would have recycling of single-stream products. We also show on here other things like composting area, all of those pieces that haven't really been talked about with other interviews and with other companies who are up here presenting, but these are pieces that we understand were important to the county, areas that we could designate for electronics recycling, mattresses, tires, household hazardous waste, all of those different components of the waste stream, a lot of which are currently ending up in the landfill and which haven't really been talked about. Those items are all here as part of this conceptual land use plan. So again, just really wanting to reflect the fact that we hear you. We feel that this is one option that would help solve the priority areas that you've identified. So finally, just a why Republic before we jump into your Q&A. We believe that we understand your goals and would absolutely love to be the ones to help Rutherford County lead Tennessee by building a modern, integrated, and comprehensive solid waste management system. That's a system that would include a program which promotes maximum diversion of recyclables, organics, and other materials from the waste stream, as we've talked about, founded in educating the community with proper recycling habits, and including, obviously, diversion of as much of the waste stream as we possibly can through that program. So with that, I know you all probably have plenty of questions for us, and we have, again, a lot of slides to back that up if we need to, but we'll turn it over to the committee.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Derek. One question, since you just finished talking about the expansion, and I'm going through notes from our last meeting and some recap notes. So, and it pertains to the added life of some of the expansion. So help me out and make sure this committee clearly understands. I have in my notes that if you expanded to the northwest of the existing landfill. Right, so north, south, so, okay, that would be the yellow and orange area, yeah.
Yep, gotcha.
That would add between 10, well, let me preface. It says, permitting the area northwest of the existing Middle Point landfill boundary and increasing the vertical height would add 10 to 30 years. And then the second bullet point was, if you then also permitted the consolidation of the Rutherford County landfill with that Middle Point landfill, that adds 15 to 25 years. And then the third bullet point was permitting some combination of the above options added 10 to 30. So I don't know if I'm supposed to add column A and column B to get maybe 30 and maybe 25 to get 55. So help me with the expansion options and what you think maybe a total achievement of life might be, if you can. And
No, look, that's a fantastic question. I think some of the confusion that comes with, what's that? Oh, thank you, Dan. So that's probably to your point, that
there we
side
go.
there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, okay.
still, it's the addition of 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3. So it's a great question. Look, I think part of the confusion comes from the fact that at this stage so the expansion is a multi-year process with numerous checks and balances, both from a technical and administrative side. These numbers are very, very general because truly at this point, well, first of all, we committed to not moving further past more advanced engineering stages of our expansion as part of our commitment here to the committee, that we wanted to wait until February of next year after the RFP process sort of ran its course to really move forward. So we haven't sort of gotten those numbers refined much, but the thought here is, when you're looking at those, a northern expansion could be fairly significant. Our feeling is that it's probably not as desirable to the community to move and break that new ground moving north, whereas we could instead sort of move south onto the existing Rutherford County landfill. It really wouldn't look different. It wouldn't be more noticeable. It would be something that's a bit more palatable as an expansion. But if there were some combination of the two, the thought was you wouldn't have to move as far north, right? You wouldn't have to push as close to Jefferson Pike. So I think in the option 3, some combination of that, we didn't want to show, the committee specifically asked for 25 years of disposal capacity. So we really didn't want to overstep and show more than that. We wanted to give you exactly what you were asking for.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Let me ask another question, and I will turn it over to our esteemed committee. As you know, we have chatted with other technologies, some specializing in C&D and some specializing, Pratt Industries, for example, is after the cardboard and paper. And also noticing in the notes, you talked about some of the recommendations for Rutherford County might be a new recycling facility initially focused on OCC, corrugated cardboard. So talk to me about working with some of those other partners, technologies, because I think some of them you're already partnering with, perhaps. So talk to me about piecemealing some stuff out, like C&D with a potential Rockwood Industries who, that's their specialty. And, they said, hey, man, bring it all to me. We'll take some recyclables as well, and we'll bundle it up and do something with it. So maybe that, and you guys, I don't think in your proposal really wanted to touch C&D, because I think it would just go to the landfill. I don't want to, tell me if I'm going down the wrong path, but I don't think that's something you wanted to touch. So you partner with them, all right? And then Pratt, who wants the cardboard, and you're talking about maybe a proposal of building a facility to handle cardboard. So why spend the money on a facility if you can partner with them and they can take it and do something with it? So talk to me about those potential relationships and how that would play out, and others. There may be other partners that we don't know about that are already doing business with you, or maybe not here, but other places that would make this even more streamlined and less costly since you're already in play with them.
So I'll give it a go, Mike, and then jump in.
Yeah, since you're the post guy. Yeah,
I'm the collection guy.
Since you're the handling collection, you're the collections guy. Yeah.
So it is very true. Today, we partner with several different companies when it comes to recycling. As you mentioned, Pratt is one of them. We will work with some vendors or a third party in regards to wood. Concrete. I mean, you can kind of go down the line. So, I think when we provided or presented a couple of months ago, we were somewhat probably pressing more towards the building our own facility when the timing was right? And as you all know, that timing becomes when participation gets to a certain level, right? It's that economy of scale piece. But we're not opposed to working directly with some of the vendors that we work with today, not just here in Middle Tennessee, but across North America. That's one of the benefits of being a large organization. We have a lot of agreements with companies such as Pratt and WestRock and other organizations across North America. And so we're definitely not opposed to continuing that relationship, especially in the infancy stages of this particular proposal. As we're waiting to ramp up participation, we'll be working directly with those folks.
And maybe one additional, Dan and I were just talking about another partnership that I think you guys have explored previously. You want to talk about that, Dan? Yeah. We'll bring him up.
Hold on. Just, you gotta, it won't pick up. Yeah, you gotta be in the microphone.
Dan Jameson with Republic Services. So several things. We've had discussions with Pratt. We had discussions with their president several weeks ago. They're interested in doing a partnership with us and us vice versa, and working together to come to a palatable solution. Again, it's the same kind of issue where we're starting as to, they had planned to do, they've got enough tons on their back on the OCC and cardboard and paper right now to do a dump and bale facility here. And they get some of our materials. So we talked to them about, one way or the other. If we did a MRF as well, they would work with us. And so those discussions, since we do business with them across the United States, they have, continued to have those conversations. So we're open to that. We've also reached out to the C&D company about that as well, and partnering with other people. And the one we had talked about before and really did not totally bring to the table because of where they were at, and we didn't want to provide some kind of program that wasn't realistic, was the people from Fulcrum that turn waste into airplane fuel. That technology, they're still getting it off ground at a facility in Reno. We're in multiple discussions with them about another facility in another part of the country. So we still have that dialogue, and we're waiting to see whether that technology works. I've talked to them about this project as well, and they're still interested. Still, wanting to know, what the potential is, because their thing is, how much material are we going to get, because it takes so much material to run the facility, but also as to where are they going to have a final disposal site. So any of these, whether it's a recycling center or whether it's Fulcrum, et cetera, there's still going to be material that comes out of the back end that's going to need a final resting place. Same way with special waste that occur with all kinds of manufacturers here in the county and in the area. Special waste, they can't be recycled. In most cases, contaminated soils and things like that by law have to go to, into a special waste facility, which is everywhere across the country is a landfill. So there still has to be a place for that material. So regardless of that, there's going to have to be a need business and industry to continue to grow, to have some final resting place for some of those materials that are hard to handle.
All right, thanks, Dan. Gentlemen, I'm going to open it up because I don't want to hog all the questions. I'll save mine for the end. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dan, going back to Fulcrum, it's been over a year, and we thought they were supposed to start production over a year ago in Reno. Even though I think it caught the attention of this body to take trash and make JP4 jet fuel out of it, even though I don't think I'd want to be on the first jet that flew on that, because you might crash and burn. Okay, so, but there is a possibility of that occurring, right, in another part of the country?
The technology is very promising, and if you're watching the news, several weeks ago, the administration has put a large incentive out there to produce this kind of biofuel energy for the airlines. United kind of doubled down and said they would do it, and then the tax incentives that are going to be out there for them to get to produce that stuff certainly is going to be good for this industry and makes it a more viable solution than it was, because all these take big cash infusions for the capital. Again, they got to make it work, and we wouldn't want to come to the county and to the taxpayers and say, put this facility in a place on county property or somewhere else, and then all of a sudden, you've got something that doesn't work in 5 years, and we've got a big elephant in the room. So, we think it's very, very promising. We have a lot of discussions with a lot of what we call black box companies that are going to turn waste into wine. We think this is a promising one, and that's why we saw fit to bring them to the table the first time, because seems like it's going to get there. They're not there yet, but they're getting close.
Well, it's until it's ready. I don't know. It's like wine, Got to wait till it's time, right? So their time's not here. My second question, Mr. Chairman, would be on this controlling your own destiny. Looking at this slide, it says options 2 and 3 would be dependent upon Republic's purchase and acceptance of liability from the county's landfill after successful due diligence. Would Republic's purchase of our landfill, would that be a cash price, option A and B, cash and continuation of the existing contract we have for free dumping, and acceptance of liability? That would be a total acceptance of us walking away. I mean, our landfill it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We continue to, as that landfill still continues to cook, and it's getting some age on it, of when a large problem is going to occur. Those are just some ideas that I'm asking as far as the purchase is concerned, and full elimination of liability from that, and successful due diligence. And what's your term of due diligence? I mean, we've already run core samples.
Yeah, really appreciate that question, because I feel like the landfill reclamation component is one item that has maybe been underplayed here through the RFP process, and I think it's extremely important. So, the county has an unlined landfill, which, as we all know, as unlined landfills everywhere have, especially in its location, its hydrogeography. There is currently gas and groundwater contamination associated with the county landfill. That's public record. That's something that everyone should be fully aware of. And so, tied to that, and progressively, the expectation is that continues to get worse over time, as unlined landfills do. There is a significant, undefined future environmental risk and liability that the county currently owns that is associated with that facility. So, as part of this, as a company that does this across the country, we manage hundreds of closed landfills, many of them unlined, in a large variety of complex hydrogeography situations. We put in here our willingness to, there's a couple things that have to go into it. And, first is due diligence, meaning, there's going to be some exploration geotechnically, which the county has done some of that already. Certainly environmental site assessments that are associated with that. And a variety of other just engineering evaluation for any massive red herring that would potentially throw a loop in the currently understood environmental liability associated with that facility. When you say purchase, I think all of this would come through in a negotiation. I think there are important details in there that would absolutely come out in a negotiation. We're not envisioning a purchase is more of a legal term, I think, than a large financial sum that would come with it. The financial sum and the benefit there to the county would be the turning over of all of that environmental liability to Republic as part of that. So the county could effectively wash your hands of this unknown future environmental risk and liability. And in return, we would take over all obligations with that, effectively consolidate that facility with our existing facility, and then utilize part of it for future landfill airspace as part of an expansion.
Well, in order to protect the citizens, would you take that trash out and put a liner underneath it and co-join your existing liner with this?
I'm not sure that that's possible to co-join the existing bottom liners of those systems.
Well, you did it once, BFI did.
There's a
They were the
lot.
first in the country, I believe, that ever seen two liners together. I believe.
Certainly we can do that. I think, Mayor, there's a lot that we don't know about what's happening underneath these facilities. I think the amount of unknown, I would be getting way ahead of my skis to go ahead and commit to digging all of it up and manage. There's other ways to manage the environmental liability other than digging it up and putting it somewhere else. So we have a lot of tools in our tool belt to do that, and just picking the right one for the correct situation. And that situation is still so undefined. I can't commit to exactly what we would do in that situation.
I'm trying to see a bigger picture of how it all might work, and I know you didn't have a needle big enough to sew those two liners together. So.
Yeah, no, it's a possibility. Ultimately, that would be the vision, is connect the liners together, whether or not it's to dig out what's in that landfill or not. Certainly, the other option is to remove a portion of that material. We know there's a lot of soil that's still in the landfill currently. Whether or not the decision to excavate that or to leave that in place, I think that's still up in the air. But certainly to do what's called a piggyback liner system or a overliner, where we leave the soil in place, put a liner over the top of that before any new waste is put in. So what I can absolutely commit to is the only waste that would ever be placed in that facility would be over an EPA-approved Subtitle D composite liner system.
So other presenters have told us to actually mine out what is in that existing landfill would be tough to run through a MRF because of the dirt that was placed over it, and even the tin cans or plastic bottles would gum up any type of conveyor belt, I'm sure, unless each one of them were hand picked out and washed and then recycled from that standpoint. So.
One of the things we've seen, Mary, is rather than try and send that through a MRF, we can, where these mining projects have been successful, is you put it through really a sifter. So you put it on you're able to grade it by particle size. So all of the soil falls out, any of the clumps or clods or existing waste will get carried off, and we just re-landfill that. But all of the soil or the decomposed byproduct is available to use as a cover material or to replace outside of a lined area. So that's typically where we found success in a landfill mining project.
I know there's some 55-gallon drums in there somewhere because I took a picture of them back in 1990. I'm not sure they'd go up a conveyor belt. I don't know what was in those
I was just going to ask you if you knew what was in them.
No, I didn't want to look. That's when I was running against you.
I got it. Got it. But thank you for that question.
All right, gentlemen, floor is yours. Otherwise, I'll keep asking questions.
Back.
what's the possibility of, in the near future, Middle Point only accepting Rutherford County trash?
So, this isn't to dismiss that question. What I would say is everything here is negotiable, and I want to make that abundantly clear. I mean, we're happy if that's, everything also comes with a cost, right? So if that is the desire of the county and the citizens here, and they are comfortable with the increased cost, which we don't have quantified, but we would talk about it through negotiations, that's absolutely something that could be on the table for us without a doubt. Probably a more palatable and realistic is maybe a longer term evaluation of that. So, if it's the county's desire to, over the next 10 years, phase out all out-of-county waste, while at the same time standing up a robust, modern recycling program, because those things take time. We can't, unfortunately, snap our fingers and a recycling program is in play. That's going to be several years, not just to build the facility, but to educate the public and to get the funding established and to get it in a budget and then to convince people to do it, right? There's all of these things take a lot of time. And so I think more realistically is probably that solution where we have something we can plan for in the future, understanding that contractually we have a sunset date where, there's at which point probably the free disposal goes away, realistically, for the county, and maybe some other things in there, but a recycling program comes up as well. And you sort of have that robust, localized program that could certainly happen as part of the negotiations with this RFP.
Mac, I'm going to go back to your question. I don't see that occurring unless we sit down. I don't see you coming back to the table to renegotiate our current contract, because if we just said we don't want anybody else's trash coming in here except for Rutherford County, and you're going, okay, we'll renegotiate that contract, but it's no longer free for you for the rest of the time of the airspace, and then here's what it's going to cost to pick up the trash and take it out there. Is that what's probably going to happen if we tried to do that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the economics of our contract change dramatically if there's no out-of-county waste to subsidize, right? So the out-of-county waste is, no matter how we look at it, I think we all have to agree that what it does do is provides the economic ability to provide free disposal for the city of Murfreesboro and the citizens of Rutherford County.
So we're looking at another utility bill for every one of our citizens of $30, $40 a month or more to dispose of their waste.
Without question, there would be a significant increase. I mean, you could call it a tax, you could call it a utility bill, you call it whatever you want, but without question, if a local disposal option is no longer available, that's part of the challenge here, right? And that's what I think the county has realized is there's not another place to dispose of this waste.
Yeah,
there just isn't.
We either take it there or we take it to the 4 facilities.
All a long way.
By
We haul it a long
county,
way.
Waste Management in Lewisburg or Camden.
Or Camden, yeah.
Or we go to Ray County, like
Yeah, or
Manchester's doing.
take it to Alabama maybe, or maybe they take to Kentucky. But all of those have limited airspace also. And if Middle Point closes and all of that waste then has to scramble for a new place, currently there is less than 10 years of disposal capacity permitted in the state of Tennessee. As soon as, if Middle Point were to be allowed to close, that available airspace evaporates like extremely quickly. I think we talked about that in our presentation. So it is extraordinarily important to know that the cost of disposing at another facility is more than free, but the cost of disposing at a facility 2.5 hours away is, it will be a dramatic shock to the citizens here.
As well as the businesses.
And that's so important too, as well as the businesses. Most of what our hauling company of Derek's Side services here in the county are businesses. We have 70 trucks on the road every single day running primarily commercial routes, right?
Yeah, as you all know, most of what we do is not on the residential side, right? I think we have around 90,000 pickups in residential over the course of the month here in Rutherford County. That's a small number. When you talk about residential services, I think it's to the tune of 7 to 9 routes per day. Where you look at our industrial side of our business, so the roll-off trucks, where we're operating 25 to 30 any given day. Commercial trucks as well. Significant amount of those on the road. So the majority of what we support here in the county are local businesses as well as large organizations. And a change like, shutting down the landfill will, without going, or obviously create a burden for those companies.
You have more questions, Mac?
Try to help all of us understand it a little better. Options 1, 2, 3. You take all options that's on the table and do every one of them. Expand north, northwest, south, southwest, height, you do it all.
Yeah.
How much airspace are you creating? How many in years?
I mean, this is sort of way out there because, again, the engineering hasn't been done, but we believe that there's about 25 years going south and about 30 years going north. So if you did the maximize everything to the largest possible way, you're talking, easily upwards of 50 years. And that's at the volumes that we are taking now. So to your point, you bring in some of the other things you've been mentioning. You obviously stand up a successful recycling program. That number just progressively grows and grows and grows to almost be, something that none of us will ever be thinking about in our lifetime.
But if you took that amount of airspace, you recycled like we should, you construction demolition landfill as we should, you do some compost, you do the other things, and you only deal with trash generated within Rutherford County, now that airspace is closer to 120 years.
Yeah, having not done the math, but you're absolutely dead on. Yeah. Yep.
So Pratt told us that they could reduce about 40% of the household waste stream through their recycling facility. Is that pretty close? The norm of...
We're doing curbside recycling, which, that's...
So if we were to get all 4 cities to engage and we all work together through curbside recycling, we can divert 40% going to Middle Point. Okay.
Get it up, and it's going to be a gradual lift to get to that, but that's
Sure.
about the standard where people that have had the programs going 5 to 10 years, that's where you get to.
10% then would come back to Middle Point, certainly, right?
Yeah. Sure. All right. In that world, in that picture you just painted, 50, 75, 100 years, you'll need a lot of dirt for cover, right?
So the amount of dirt we need for cover doesn't change with time. It changes with volume.
Yeah.
So the same, the maximized version of Middle Point, which we aren't proposing here. I want to make clear what we're proposing is to meet the 25-year disposal capacity that the board has specifically asked for in the RFP. But that volume will require a certain amount of soil to cover, but no difference on if it takes us 5 years or 500 years to do so.
Okay, here's where I'm leading. Has TDEC or any environmental agency approved an alternate cover material to natural dirt? So where I'm going is, could you compost your own cover material, or could you, like some of these technologies that are creating pellets, sterilized pellets, could that, or something similar, could you manufacture your own soil cover?
It's an awesome question, and I mean a business-minded question too. I would honestly say so. Not only is preserving soil as a natural resource important to us as a facility, as humans, as citizens here, but soil is very expensive here in Middle Tennessee as well, which I'm sure all of us are aware of. So we are currently very creative in what we use as daily covers specifically, where we can, the intermediate and permanent covers. There are some alternate things we can do. There's a lot of, when you drive by Middle Point, you see two different big exposed geomembrane. You see a green one and a black one. Right. So both of those are sort of soil supplements or soil alternatives that we have voluntarily taken on, which are impermeable to letting additional liquids into the facility and improve our ability over soil to harness and collect gas from those areas. So that's two things we're doing. You mentioned two alternative daily covers that we use very frequently. You mentioned compost. So we don't produce any of that ourselves, but we are partnered. One of our favorite vendors is a local compost company, Southeastern Compost, who takes in a lot of green waste here in the region and produces a compost for that. And we use that material as a approved alternative daily cover. What we like about that is, first of all, they're fantastic to work with as humans, but also it comes right to our facility where we need it, and it acts as a biofilter to gas that might come up that is sort of better than soil. One other item that we use as an alternative daily cover, which also preserves airspace, which helps us prevent soil when you put it down. It's great, but it also takes up airspace that you could use waste for otherwise. It's a product called, it's a spray-on product that has Portland cement included in it. So it's like cakes on very thick, goes on hard, goes on firm. And also we include some odor neutralizing agent in that as well, which kind of helps mitigate any odors that might be emanating from the active phase specifically.
Sounds expensive.
It is. It can be. Yeah, it can be. But it's worth it, and it's the right thing to do. And so it's also our obligation. So TDEC regulates us. In fact, they've been out to watch us apply that material at the end of the day, sitting out there from 4:30 to 6, just kind of watching it all go down. Just helping to make sure, because we are a highly regulated facility, and they definitely take that component of what we do, that cover component, very seriously.
All right. So help me and this group understand. The geotextile or geomembrane, or
geomembrane.
Geosynthetic, let's call it.
Yep.
That's a daily. I mean, you cover up and then you uncover the next day, add more waste, and then end of the day you cover that back up with the same membrane.
Yeah, I would categorize the geomembrane as more of a long-term cover material. It's very expensive to put down and to procure, but it's very durable. So on a daily basis, what we're using is soil, the spray-on cover, compost, or potentially like a contaminated soil that we get that can also be used as an approved alternative daily cover.
So if I drive by on a Monday and see the black and the green, and I drive by 5 days later, am I looking at a new layer and a new sheet of black and green, or is it the same one you're peeling back?
You're looking at the exact same black and green. So that's not going to change. That won't change for years probably. I don't think you can't. So from the roads right now, you can't see where we're currently filling. But if you're talking on 231, when you drive by and you see it, or if you come down Jefferson Pike, that's going to be. I would call it like long-term intermediate.
Okay.
I would say.
So the natural dirt, when you use it, or the composting material when you use it, is more the final, I'm asking, is more of the final layer when you say, okay, this cell is done, we've reached our footprint, then you cover with that?
Compost we'll use every single day.
Okay.
We also will apply soil every single day as like on areas that we're not going to come back to for some time. But generally speaking, if we're building the actual final cover system, what that looks like is that membrane that you see right now is temporary. So eventually we're going to pull that off and put on a permitted, like an EPA, TDEC approved final cover system. And that's sort of like the permanent containment. So what that consists of is some drainage material, that same geosynthetic, and recompacted clay, and then a vegetative layer above that. So right now, the area that we have to final cover, if you're driving by, so if we're going on our tour on 231, the area sort of on the back side, closest to the county landfill, that's all like nicely grassed and terraced, that all has a permanent final cover system on it right now.
But the intriguing part is, you're currently buying a greenway, so ground-up trees, bushes kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A specialty mix that you're getting from Southeastern or whoever they are. At some point in time, if you wanted, you could make that yourself
Yeah, we could.
and use that at the landfill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I know you've got 10 questions.
I do, and actually I was getting some of them answered, or at least part of the way. I'm going to go back to one you've already talked about a little bit, which is taking out the or landfill reclamation from the old landfill. And from what I've read of your proposal and listened to you, basically to do a reclamation for us, you would want to get ownership or a partnership of some kind so you could use that property for disposal purposes. Is that correct? Is that the only way that y'all would do any reclamation for us?
Exactly. Everything is negotiable. I think that certainly the superior option, I think, for financially would be to utilize that existing space for landfill disposal capacity.
Right now, yeah.
What we've looked at is just behind the road, filling in the V between the two landfills. That's where we see is the best option for any disposal option using county landfill. We don't see us going over into where the old C&D site or any of that stuff would be. That's really not an option for us.
I appreciate that, because that kind of leaves a window for me. I'm kind of the opinion, I don't know about Commissioner Piercy. I think he and I have a little more skin in this game than most of the other commissioners, because with the prevailing winds, they're blowing right into my district and across his, and actually getting into a lot of Murfreesboro City, of course, where the city's expanding. That hadn't helped, but I've got so many different questions and angles at them. I'm gonna try to be as brief as I can. One thing, and I've numbered a few of them. You mentioned diversion. Okay, we want a diversion of trash, you know. And how would that work in your mind if you're still bringing trash in from out of county? Davidson County, I think, is bringing 60% of the waste that y'all are getting now. I mean, if you're not diverting their trash that's coming to us, how's that really gaining us anything as far as capacity goes without expanding?
Davidson County, we have a finite arrangement, so that ends at a certain point. They're getting the same pushback from us on diversion as everybody else, just because there's landfill issues. They've got the same problem as well with no curbside recycling. And that's an issue for Middle Tennessee overall that, you know, has to be solved. We think, you know, as a creative group working together to get to that solution, because it's a problem not just here, it's across all Middle Tennessee. And so something's going to have to give. And, you know, like I said, we have a finite relationship there that, you know, is not going to continue forever. And I think, you know, we've kind of told them that as well. So.
Thank you. Well, you're telling me what I'd like to hear. In most cases, not everything I'd like to hear, but something I want to point out to our people that are listening, or my constituents, anything. You know, I've been looking at this since 1998. It's when I became a commissioner. I started looking at what we're going to do with our trash then, believe it or not. But here's the bottom line of what I'm saying. As far as cost to us, to you, a constituent out here, a taxpayer, the cheapest way for us to dispose of our trash is to continue to do business with these gentlemen right here. First of all, they've got the only close landfill, and regardless of what we do, we're going to need to landfill at least a percentage of the trash we're generating. And that may mean that we're shipping it, may mean that we're wasting energy. You know, there may be some black box solution come up. And by the way, anything that I would want to negotiate with you or anybody else would have to be open to changes in technology. If there was a technology change that was a game changer, I would expect our contract with whoever we work with to be open-ended enough that we could renegotiate with new terms. But let me get back on the same line I was on, is just so people know, you know, do y'all mind me mentioning the cost figures that you've got in your proposal here? I mean, I've got them here. If, yeah, there you go, they're up on the board now. Just so people know what we're talking about. Right now, it doesn't cost you anything unless you're paying somebody for curbside or disposing. I'm talking about household. It's not costing you anything. Now, some people are paying a service to have them hauled, but if you're using our convenience centers, you know, you're basically getting to dump for free or without a monthly bill. If under this proposal, if we get 35,000, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, 35,000 households, it would approximately cost us $40.48, and I assume that's per month. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, same thing for the next ones. If we get 65,000 households doing curbside, and you can see convenience centers, you know, this is a total of everything there. It'd be $32.08 per month. And then again, 100,000 people get on board. We're talking almost $25 a month. You know, those prices are not going to get better. I know we've been traveling around, and I've seen the prices, and we know what it costs to dump per ton in a lot of places now that we didn't know. But I have people telling me straight up, hey, I'm willing to pay more. I don't have to put up with the inconvenience that we've got with the landfill. And I'm not here to beat up on anybody. Don't take it that way, please. I'm just telling you like it is. You know, y'all been here since 1989. Okay. I've had people tell me straight up they've had a long time to get this problem straightened out with the smell, and they haven't done it yet. You know, here's one of my biggest questions I was going to save for last is, you know, your company is the most cost effective for us, regardless of which way we go that I've seen so far. For one thing, you'd be working with the same people we would be, whether it's Pratt or some of the other vendors, you know, that are doing that. But how am I going to convince my constituents that you guys are going to be able to take care of the problem with the smell and the traffic that we've got out there right now? Because you haven't done it. Now, last time I talked to y'all, I heard in July we weren't going to have any more smell. Well, convince me and convince the people that I represent that you can do this for us.
Sure, and I appreciate that question very much and the opportunity to speak on that. One thing I want to make abundantly clear is just to restate what I had said previously, because I have been misquoted here now and by the city in press releases and all over the place, quite bluntly. Pardon me. What I said when I came up here was we had an ongoing $2.8 million construction project to expand our gas collection infrastructure. We anticipated that would be done in late summer, late July. What I said was, after that point, I believe that in a time in the not too distant future, discussions about off-site odor would be a thing of the past. In fact, I believe that was my exact quote. So I never came up here and said to anyone, and I've never said that anywhere, nor has anyone from Republic, that at the end of July, odors would be gone, period, end of story. I think that's, so just want to get that record straight, and hopefully, I'm encouraging hopefully the city to also hear that and to quote this correctly moving forward.
He's talking about the city of Murphy.
I'm talking about the city of
Mr.
Murfreesboro.
Chairman. Don't we, wasn't that televised?
Yeah,
You
let's.
can go to YouTube.
Yeah,
Guys,
encourage everyone to
you don't have to
rewatch
take his
that.
word or anybody
Yeah,
else's word
absolutely.
for it. Go to YouTube, pull up that meeting, and you can see exactly what was said.
Yep, and I really encourage everyone here to do that, because I do know what I said. 'Cause I would never have stood up here and promised anyone a fixed date to have such a complex problem permanently and 100% fixed, right? So what I can say is, and I hope your constituents have noticed this as well, we have made tremendous progress as it relates to the odor at the facility. So we have over a 15-fold reduction in the complaints that we've gotten. Our gas flows are up upwards of 20%, and we continue to make progress there. Are we perfect all the time? Look, landfills are highly complex, highly dynamic, very challenging facilities, and sometimes things go wrong and don't go exactly as according to plan. What I can say is the progress that we have made has been significant, and we will absolutely continue to do you have the right people in the job right now. We've solved offsite odor problems at numerous facilities across the country. This is all I've ever done, is manage landfill facilities, design landfill facilities, operate them, and build them. You have the right team up here to be able to handle it, and you have the resources of the company to put it to make sure that we do that. And I think Republic has shown that. $15 million over the last 3 years, specifically focused on gas infrastructure, collection, and destruction of landfill gas. So look, we're going to continue to do our part. What I'll also say, and we've said it before, I'm not concerned about where other odors may be coming from. There are a lot of things going on in this part of the community that could be potential alternate odor sources. We're not really concerning ourselves with those. We're focused on what we can control within our own footprint, and we're going to continue to do that. And I think, again, I'm happy to have you out to the facility, take you around, like, personally, kind of show you all of the things we're doing, show you the vision, show you the effort and the focus and the edge that we have, and we're going to continue to have, to guarantee that we're a good neighbor. Because whether or not we get an expansion, whether or not you decide to go with us on this RFP, we're here together for the next 50 years minimum, right? We have an obligation for post-closure care to be here for 50 years after closure in the community. And landfills don't stop creating gas. They don't stop working. They're complex biological systems. They don't stop if the gates close. So no matter what, that commitment that you're hearing from me today, that you've seen from Republic in the past recent future specifically, that's going to continue. And so I can't say it more forcefully than that. And again, I'd love to have you out and we can talk even more specifics to really sort of demonstrate more of what we have going on.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'll be taking you up on it. Of course, I'm in the area a lot. I've been cutting hay right across the river from your facility off and on for the last few months. In the summertime, I'm over there a lot. I drive the roads around you, Jefferson Pike, Compton Road, all the time. So, I mean, it's pretty much a daily occurrence since I've got a grandson lives over in that direction. But one thing you said that jumps out, and people need to listen to that, is regardless of whether we work with these guys or not, we're going to be working with them for another 50 years because they have to maintain that landfill whether they're putting anything into it or not. Now, if we decided we're not going to do any business with them and we're not going to take any trash to them, they're still going to be taking trash from other people outside of this county because they can. That's something that's a hard reality, and a lot of people don't like that, but that's the facts. Now, we're in a position where we can probably, as Mr. Jameson said, we can negotiate, and there's possibilities on everything out there. And that's one thing I'd like for people to do, is keep an open mind with these guys and anybody else. And I'm not saying, hey, I'm tooting these guys' horn. I'm not. If you recall, I'm one of the 4 commissioners that got to vote together to say, hey, we're not expanding. And still right there, if we can't take care of these problems, so my attitude has not changed, but I'm telling you, you're going to have to look at the cost. You're going to have to look at what we can get done. We're going to have to look at whether we can afford to only Rutherford County trash and not take anything from anybody else. And guess what? It's not just going to be us deciding that, because we've got 3 or 4 municipalities that are going to be working with us, and they're going to be making this decision with us. I don't think we're going to be doing this in a box all by ourselves. Now, we can make a recommendation, but if we're going to partner with Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, Eagle, I'd say they got skin in this game too, and they're definitely going to have a vote and a say on what happens. But I want everybody to be realistic on, what the possibilities are. I don't think y'all are any better or any worse. Well, I'll take that back. I think you're better than most of the facilities that I've seen, because I have seen some state-of-the-art facilities that y'all have. Know what you can do. I want to see it done here, whether we do business with you or not, as far as mitigating the smell and the traffic there. Those are my main things. I've got, like I said, he's right. I've got a list of about 10 things. Maybe we can talk about it later, but I'm going to stop talking now. But the main thing is, guys, my folks out here are hurting. If you can't sit out on your back porch and enjoy your backyard, summer or winter or whenever it is, because of that smell, kind of quality of life we're talking about. Now, that's what I'm talking about. We're going to have to get that straightened out. My opinion is you got a short time to prove to my folks that you can do something. You've had about since '89 to show us how it really doesn't have to be done. And I'm not saying all of it's wrong. Don't misunderstand me. You've done a better job than we've done on our landfill. Not from Missouri, but you're going to have to show me, guys.
Well, let me speak to Michael's comment and from the company. When I started coming down here about 5 years ago, we made a commitment to do the right thing. And as I've said to this body a number of times, we always didn't. But we're getting to that place where we get it. The other thing is, once you pull a lot of these wastes out of the waste stream, certainly changes the makeup of the landfill and what happens relative to odors, et cetera. We got places out in the west where we no longer get organics. We don't get, tons of sludge from cities. Most of the sludge we get in a lot of places, it's pelletized, and that really changes the dynamics of what he has to deal with every day. We get a lot of sludge from Murfreesboro. A lot of the bad odors. That's where it's coming from. So there are other ways that we need to work to get to there, and there's a lot of solutions. But it's like you said, it's a dynamic problem. But we know from our experience across the country that what goes in the landfill certainly changes everything that happens there, and it's a big science project, but there are ways to get there, and that's what we're committed to doing.
Dan, since you mentioned the sludge thing, so is it not supposed to come in dry? And I think the sludge is coming in wet. So, are they going to put in dryers or something, or I don't know how that works with y'all, because Murfreesboro's got a contract with you too. So they're taking your leachate and it's going to the treatment center, and then y'all are taking their sludge.
That's right. So the contract we have with the city of Murfreesboro is a swap agreement, really. So we pre-treat our leachate and then put it in the sewer, and that goes to the city. And in return, we take all of the city's municipal solid waste that they collect themselves, so all of the city of Murfreesboro trucks, and all of their sludge from the wastewater treatment system. So we take that for free. So that's the swap agreement we have. The sludge we're getting from the city is it's compliant. There's nothing wrong with the sludge. It definitely does come in wet. Because most communities have to pay for their disposal of sludge, so they put in things like dryers, another way. So the liquid has weight, and weight costs money when you dispose it. So the material from the city is coming in wetter than typical sludge from communities, only because I believe the city gets it for free. So there's not really a financial incentive to go that extra mile in the treatment.
That's where I just learned something then. So it doesn't matter whether it's wet or dry. It's still the same sludge, and it's still going to smell the same dry or wet.
It's certainly more ripe when it's wet, right? And without question. If it's been through the drying process and those extra stages of heating it off and capturing the gas off of it, right? So it's without question significantly more ripe.
So do
odor-wise.
they have a dryer?
No.
Could they
do not.
dry?
No.
If you recall, I think my first week on the job at the company, I was sent down to deal with the sludge issue at Middle Point because of the city of Nashville sludge, that it got to the point where, we couldn't take it anymore. It was just, that was the major source of odors, and TDEC kind of said, something's got to be done here, and we went to the city and said, you're either going to pelletize or, we really can't take it because, it was threatening the permit. So I think that, that evolved over time, and that was a big source of problems early on. And that sludge, is dealt with on a regular basis and is not.
So you're
much a
taking
thing.
Davidson County sludge, but they're drying it or pelletizing it.
Yeah,
Well, we don't get as much because they find other use. There's other uses for the pellets and stuff like that as well.
So we receive biosolids from one facility at Metro Nashville, not the broad. So again, because it's costly to bring it to us this far away. And I also want to just state very clearly that to Commissioner P's point earlier, we are going to do whatever it takes to manage our responsibility to prevent offsite odors, no matter what waste stream comes to us. So I certainly don't want this to come off as us staying up here and sort of pointing fingers at a waste stream or not a waste stream.
Well, I wasn't even going to bring up the odor, but since it was, and since it was sludge, I wanted to kind of get to the bottom of it, because y'all had said earlier that gypsum, the sheetrock and stuff, was causing the breakdown of it was causing the odor. But with that and the sludge and the regular trash and the methane all together, you got a heck of a stench coming out of there, and so from then till now, what's the difference in your total whatever air quality or whatever you want to say, the smell thing? I mean, you say your calls have shut,
From
have
then to
come
now.
down. We're not getting many calls in the mayor's office now. I don't know what the city's getting or whatever, but I mean, so has it gotten better?
Yeah, so, when I first came here as general manager was in the middle of March. And so prior to that point, I don't really want to speak to prior to that point, but, since that time, the frequency of, so we have a odor reporting portal that we have created. It's an app, it's accessible online. And the frequency of odor complaints has gone down about 15-fold since that time to now. Through that process of the gas construction project I spoke to being complete at the end of July. There's other things that we're doing, certainly from a best practices of operating the landfill, making sure we're totally tightened up on our cover, scheduling when some of the biosolids come in to manage it better and to mix it in with our waste stream, and a number of other things that we're doing on a regular basis. We still do get complaints on occasion, and sometimes something goes wrong with our gas collection system, and there will be a brief intermittent period where our flow goes down or something goes incorrect. And in those cases, on occasion, the complaints increase. But I speak to our neighbors all the time. And the neighbors that I think are the most frequent complainers would tell you that they can text me, they can call me, I talk to them frequently. If there's a retread on the side of Jefferson Pike and they'd like it to be picked up, they just let me know, it's done, right? We value being a good neighbor so much, and I can't express that forcefully enough. So yes, certainly the frequency of complaints have gone down. As I said earlier, our flow has gone up. Our gas flow, how much gas we're collecting every minute, has gone up about 20%, and we're going to continue to make progress on there. One of the things about new installation of infrastructure is it doesn't just, you don't put it in and boom, you're producing 1,000 more SCFM every single minute. It takes time to tune and balance these 250 different inner working gas collection wells so you can optimize the collection from the field. So it's something we've installed now, and we're going to just continue chipping away at it until we get it exactly like we want it to be.
Well, I appreciate that. And I know it's going to take that's going to be part of the discussions with the county commission and everyone in the community as far as what goes forward and some sort of negotiation or some sort of working with whatever we do with Republic, because of, it's going to come back to that smell issue and, trash up and down the road or whatever. And so that has to go into the final plan of okay, what are you going to do about this, or what have you done about this after being notified and stuff. And it comes back to, I want to ask this question, and I'm done. Mayor Ketron started out in September of 18 checking. We went to Sevierville and looked at what they're doing up there, and then we went to see the waste away deal, what they're doing there. We went to California to look to see what they're doing there, and a lot of different things trying to get to this point of what is Rutherford County going to be. What's our next step? Are we going to pony up and do this recycling thing, countywide, with commercial and residential and everything, because everybody has to be a part of this for us to work. What does this do to our existing contract when we do this in any way, form, or fashion? Because we're trying to reduce what comes to you, but if it's you that's doing it, or Pratt that's in with y'all, or whatever you want, however you want to say that, and the reduction of the recycling part, what does this mess up our contract at all, as far as our taking the rest of it to landfill? And
we expect, I think, that come a negotiation, that it's almost going to be like we're starting over. There's going to be some parts that it's going to be negotiation to where what's going to be the best interest of everybody. What can we live with? What can you live with? What makes sense? What makes sense to the taxpayer, et cetera. I think it's got to be a multi-pronged approach to say, this is what because you're going to have a list of things that you'd want. We'd have things that we want, and then it's part of negotiation.
That said, as it is right now, our existing contract can stay in play. Right. Nothing we're talking about here violates the host agreement contract that we have with Rutherford County.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and to, I guess, clarify, your I guess what you're presenting is that you would do a MRF whenever it's time, and that is something we're not or I don't want to say I am not understanding. Whenever you say it's time, if Nashville's coming here and we're here already, and what other counties are coming here, you're telling me what you're taking right now in tonnage is not enough to take on a MRF. But if Pratt or NBL or somebody comes in here and does it, then that's a different deal, and we'll deal with them and you at the same time, or Waste Management or whoever.
And I think all of them would tell you the same thing. Unless there's some kind of government action and a mandate to say you got to do curbside recycling, and we kind of had discussions with Pratt. It's really not their business model. They don't do a lot of the curbside stuff, but for them to get into doing beyond paper and OCC, they're going to be looking for some kind of commitment, and that commitment on the other side, whether it's City, Nashville, Murfreesboro, the county, et cetera, is some commitment to recycling. And that's, let's get some ordinances passed, some things saying, businesses by X date, you have to, that's the only way it's worked. If you see where it's really made progress in California, it's been a succession of, they've had goals to meet, set deadlines. We're in year 3 of taking organics out of the waste stream in California at the business level. Next, it'll be organics are going to be coming out at the curbside. So all that's been legislated, though, to get there. Because a lot of people will not come and commit that level of capital. If, it's not always build it and they will come. If there's nobody to pick it up and it's not being picked up, there's not going to be any material to process, et cetera.
One other quick question is, to mitigate the smell, My guess is taking the organics out would probably do that quicker or better than anything else. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong there. But if that's the case, what would you suggest we would do there? Compost these organics, or, of course I know we've seen methods where they turn that into propane or methane gas, and run it in buses, but so what would you suggest for us to do that would get rid of the smell the quickest?
Not a silver bullet. Removing organics isn't going to be a silver bullet. Realistically, the cost of anything different, first of all, you have to get organics separated at the source, which is, we're still trying to get recyclables separated at the source. Separating organics is, I don't want to say it's impossible, but you're looking at a severely uphill battle on that. Alternatives to landfilling organics can be anaerobic digestion. You can compost food waste if it's sort of a pure stream, although it can also have odors associated with it. But typically, an anaerobic digestion is the alternative to landfilling an organic waste stream.
And of course, there's cost associated. I know I recently read an article about the city of Pittsburgh. Of course, it's a huge place, and they're actually taking their sludge, which like Nashville's generating, and they're turning that into a fertilizer that can be used for composting to grow vegetables. And now there's still some arguments with the scientists on that from what I read, but it is legal for them to do that, and some people are using it for organic fertilizers.
Let me make, before we leave the biosolids comments, since Republic brought it up, I have been to the water treatment plant, the Murphy City's water treatment plant. Anybody can go. They welcome visitors. That sludge is open to the air. They don't have any odor control mechanism in place. It's not a smelly place. The biosolids that they send to Republic, I think, represents about 2% of their total volume. So not a huge amount. To go to pellets, which somebody brought up, I think Nashville does that. For Murfreesboro, that's about a $20 million investment to take that sludge into pellet form. So that's why they haven't done it up to now. They've talked about it, but it's not a number they're willing to invest in at this point. So I'm not saying that it doesn't contribute when you put that with the 3 or 4 other things that we talked about, gypsum and organics and other decomposing materials. But I just want to, for transparency, I want to tell you that if you go to the treatment plant, it's not a bad odor. So, all right. Mr. Piercy, you had your hand up.
If you would, go back to your land use map. You made the comment that you were going to maybe put a recycle center at the blue location. My map shows a light blue, a dark blue. Which location were you referring to?
Dark blue. So on there it says Future Hauling Company and MRF. That's that dark blue section.
Future Hauling Company and the MRF, right there, right on the Jefferson Pike. Okay. My other question about the map, the yellow is your proposed expansion on the front. The back is the county landfill property. Is that correct? The back yellow part.
A portion
is
of
the
it.
county.
Yep.
The portion,
Yep.
the V. So if you can obtain the county landfill portion, you're going to ease our stress on Jefferson Pike and the creek rather than go as close to it as you possibly can. And how close are you estimating it going at the way it's pictured today?
This just shows two options, and I think it could be any combination of those options. We have talked historically with this body about the layback to the south as the only option, which certainly is still out there. That would include sort of no expansion to the north. However, that hadn't been moving forward, so we moved forward with the proposal, which is the land that we certainly currently own, which is that movement to the north. And that could be, again, any combination of, as part of negotiation, as part of this whole broad integrated solid waste concept, a combination of the south and the north options are on the table, certainly.
Let me ask my question a little more direct. How close will you come to Jefferson Pike with the trash if you do not get the county landfill area in the back?
So as currently shown, he's a 500-foot setback.
From the pavement?
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
From the pavement?
From Jefferson Pike? Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
I heard it was a lot less.
From the property line?
Yeah, the setback.
Correct. Yeah, the setback from the property line. And I believe that's exactly what that shows up there as a 500-foot wide strip of orange that we have just as set-aside area.
Our map gives no dimensions on it. It's just color.
Right, yeah, it's just a conceptual map. Yeah, we did not dimension it.
Okay, I've got another question or two. Early on, you kind of threw the county landfill under the bus, said had known problems with groundwater contamination and all. Are there any known problems with Republic's landfill having groundwater contaminations and so forth?
Sure. I want to be sure and I clarify, it certainly was not throwing the county landfill under the bus. That's public record, and I think something that we all have to come to terms with as a result of the fact that we all put waste somewhere, waste that you and I generated, in a facility with no liner. So that's not throwing anything under the bus. That is something that happens to old unlined landfills. So just clarifying that piece. To your second part of your question, no, there's currently no known groundwater or landfill gas contamination associated with Middle Point landfill. And that's all public record, so we go through this all the time with a series of environmental reports that can be found on TDEC's data viewer website.
Okay. Next question. Should you choose to mine out our landfill, you made mention earlier, unless I've misunderstood, that you are able to take contaminated soil now and use for cover on your landfill. So would it not be possible for you to take all the soil out of the county landfill and use for cover on your landfill?
Yes, that would very much be possible.
The Nashville sludge that you're taking, is it pelletized or is it liquid form?
It's neither. It's dried sludge, so it comes in sort of like a...
Is it a cake?
Not a cake, more like I guess it's sort of a lumpier, like drier than a mud sort of consistency, I would say.
So it's dry?
It is dried, yes, as part of the process to process the sludge. Yep, that's correct.
You're only taking from one of their...
Right, correct. Yep.
My last question. Really a question and a comment. In the beginning of your presentation, and which all through all your, when you've come back with your RFP presentations and all, you have made the comment that you were trying to come up with some way to provide us a 25 years expansion on our trash, to do something with our trash for 25 years, because that's what the RFP had kind of recommended, that you took from that. Really, of course, I'm one of 7 people. I think, yeah, there's 7 on this committee, just one. But my take on that was we were really looking for an option other than burying our trash in the ground. I can just speak for one rather than 7. But to me, it feels like of course, I know why you're doing it, because you're in the business. But I believe we would have took better if you had, I don't know, tried to work with us on the direction we were going, not burying trash, but doing something else with the trash. Recycle, turn it to fuel or whatever. And one of our other goals is to try to stop other trash from coming into this county like it has been and like it still is today. And my closing question for you is there any part of this that you would work with us and help us with without obtaining our county landfill property?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look, our goal is to help y'all reach your goals. That's why we're here. And we've been doing it. We're so capable of doing it, and we're excited for that next step to do it with you. As presented, sort of everything hinges on having that disposal capacity, getting an expansion, because nothing works if we don't have an end place to put our residuals, even if we could recycle everything, right? We have to have landfill space. So yes, absolutely, these can happen in parts and pieces. If we don't reclaim the county landfill, that's no problem. It's just, again, part of the future discussions, and we anticipate that'll all just come out as part of the negotiation process.
Thank you very much.
Good question, Steve. Mr. Dodd, you've been extremely quiet this evening.
Well, I don't want to just hear myself speak, so. The questions have been so good, I didn't know I would have to speak.
You don't have to if you don't want.
No, but that, Steve, just helped me kind of come around. If you don't get your expansions, are these diversions part of your contingency?
Can you maybe be a little bit more
If
specific
you
with
don't
your
get your
question?
expansions, you go from 25, 30, 40, 50 years back down to 6 or 8.
Sure, it could change the finite life
Correct,
of
or
the
10 or
landfill.
whatever.
Sure.
But they're definitely not going to be 50 or 30, probably. In your business model, your 10-year plan, and you're locked in at your current square foot, your footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Would you, to elongate the time span that you could be open, would you take it upon yourself to divert without our prompting or without our paying or without our partnership? Is diversion part of your plan that you might have come to with or without our prompting?
Sure, and I mean, I'll let Mike jump in here, but we're a large organization. We own a significant amount of airspace in other landfills. Listen, our objective as a business is to be able to provide affordable services for our customers. Today, we can do that best because we have a landfill located here in Rutherford County for the many customers that we have here. Does it change that dynamic if we have to divert? Absolutely, it would financially. Is that kind of part of our plan if it?
Let me. I'm going to be rude and interrupt.
Yep.
Would you choose to divert? Is there a business model where diversion would be your the most profitable choice for your stakeholders?
Are you talking about?
However, recycling, C&D, compost, all of these elements would prolong the amount of time you're receiving items that cannot be diverted. Is there any of your business models lead to you providing these other services without our prompting? And as one of those scenarios, if you can't expand your landfill, would you begin to conserve the time frame from now to when it closes by diversion? Is that clear?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would look at.
We've looked at that model. We're continuing to modeling stuff. We look out and know what reality is and what it isn't, and so we look at all those opportunities for us to do those kind of things. I mean, we also have an obligation right now under contract to take all your waste for free. And that goes, and then we also had some other contractual obligations that we've since renegotiated to put us into. Constantly are looking at the entire picture and short-term and long-term, and we've had those discussions ongoing.
I mean, if Derek were to offer curbside recycling right now, the problem is there's no economic incentive for the citizens here to pay for it, right? So we're not going to go pick up recyclables just pro bono, right, from all of these communities and then divert it and recycle it ourselves. So again, it all comes back to there has to be a robust program that includes everyone with leadership like you're showing right here, but there's no economic incentive. People aren't going to recycle out of the goodness of their hearts if they can throw everything away for free right now. Right.
Yeah. Sorry. Did that answer your question? I feel like maybe it didn't.
Yeah, I think it does. There's no incentive on your part because you don't make money unless you dump. So this is not going to happen unless we pay for it. There's no incentive on your part to do any of these diversions.
Well, recycling's not free.
Correct, correct. So,
Yeah.
but there's no component of your landfill or your growth plan. If your growth plan changed in some way, it would not become economical for y'all to take it upon yourself to recycle.
You are correct.
If you can't dump here,
If there's an ordinance in place, that's the incentive. If there are programs in place and an ordinance in place, somebody's going to commit capital and do that. But to build it and they will come, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It won't make economic sense. There will not be any return on investment. And we have an obligation to get a return on our investment as any other business would. And, you know, if we build it and, you know, you get 500 homes that are sending us recyclable materials, it's not going to be able to turn the lights on. So, you know, we've looked at that, but unless there is some kind of incentive for the businesses and the citizens to do it, it doesn't make a lot of economic sense for anybody.
Yeah.
so it's cheaper for y'all to carry it somewhere else. If this landfill lifespan continues to squeeze, it's cheaper for y'all to just carry that to another landfill or somewhere. These programs have not become economically feasible to be profitable for you guys.
Right now, it's free. So if there's a payment option, yeah, the whole economics changes.
Bill, let me jump in real quick. They cite some of the success in California. Let me remind you that California subsidizes the recycling program.
An ordinance, and they subsidize.
Yeah. And Tennessee ain't even close.
Right. And
Right.
like Robert said, when Robert opened his remarks, the best decision we can make for our constituents is to make landfilling accessible. The best economic choice we can make for our constituents is to make landfilling available for a longer period of time. That's the most economic method, and there's no incentive to do otherwise unless we simply pay for it. We buy the alternative, correct?
Or there's a mandate arm in there somewhere that forces people to do it.
And then we subsidize it, or the constituents pay.
Yeah.
Because currently they don't.
Yeah.
Correct.
Or unless one of the solutions, which I talked about pushing the easy button, where there is a single source. There's one bin out in your front yard. You put everything in it, and it comes to a MRF, and they grind everything up into waste to energy, to a fuel, to a pellet, to something. And
Isn't there yet?
it's not there yet.
And when it is, these guys will probably be in front of the line
Right.
to develop it.
Right, which leads, I'll save the question, but remind me to ask the question that Chairman Harris, in his absence, would have asked about the couple of different technologies about the pellets, because he's always said, look, you guys spend millions of dollars on R&D. We're talking about the black box. If something, taking all that into a pellet and taking that pellet to energy, if it worked, you guys would already be involved in it. You don't have to answer now. I want Phil to finish his thought process.
I think that segued straight to that question, so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
If we had that black box technology that worked, if Waste Management had it, that worked, they'd be doing it today. They had looked at one in Philadelphia. There hasn't been one shovel turned to build that facility. So if it was there, we'd be doing it.
thank you, thank you.
You got to have markets for the pellets as well, and that's been another issue.
Yeah. Phil, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue on.
I don't think you did. I think that was just organic. Last question, though. If Pratt sounds like they're almost ready to build an 80,000 square foot shell for dump and bale, I believe was your term. And they're real close to doing it with or without our help. Our help would make it, I think, expedite. Would y'all partner with Pratt or undertake a shell at your own expense and grow into the MRF possibility, allow it to grow into a MRF?
I think that's what we proposed.
But if you get the expansion in landfill, I mean, there's all these caveats, but is that standalone item in your business model anywhere, in any of your pro formas? A standalone, build the shell, partner with Pratt, start diverting cardboard to them?
You work around, yeah. And again, all that's contingent on there's going to be material coming our way.
And contingent on
Yeah, right.
all of these, like, there still has to be a place to landfill. So if the decision is made by this body that no expansion, you are going to have to come up with a disposal solution for that material somewhere else. And right now, we don't know where that would be.
Thank you.
Mac?
Eric? Let's take a little travel trip. Back in the late 80s, early 1990s, a company called BFI hauled and disposed of all of our convenience centers with the exception of 4. Waste Management did those 4. And it cost the county $100 per load, haul and disposal. As in early 90s. And then mid-90s, Rutherford County decided we can do that cheaper ourselves. So we bought our own trucks, bought our own equipment, started hauling it ourselves, paying at the landfill, and we still couldn't make that work. So a man named Glenn Youngblood worked with us, and kept reducing the price until we got free service. That's what got us to where we are. In 2005, I worked for another company, private company, and our temporary construction model, pricing model for sales people was 85 cents a minute. That's how you price it, as in 2005. Do y'all still have a similar price structure, and then what is that 16 years later?
So obviously, I don't know if you're asking about our cost, but of course that'd be proprietary, right? Wouldn't discuss that. Do we have models today that model out based on what is our cost to operate vehicles, price of fuel, environmental recovery fees? Absolutely. I mean, any large company or any small company is going to have that as well.
Where I'm going with it is from the early 90s to today, Rutherford County's had a lot of free stuff, a lot of growth to go along with it, and a lot of cost that went into that. That 85 cents a minute in 2005, today for us, hauling it ourselves, is about $2.20 a minute.
Yeah, it's went up significantly, and it's just going higher, right? I mean, as you know, right? Price of steel is 300% more than what it was several months ago, right? And so you can kind of go down through it.
Not only that, but with the economy, the COVID thing and everything else, we're trying to order a new front-end loader truck. we can't get the manufacturer to give us a build date until possibly Christmas of 2022, and they won't guarantee that yet. So we can't even pull a purchase order to order the truck because we can't get a build date for it.
I can't get my new Bronco until 2023.
You're correct. It is increasingly difficult today.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. You're recognized. Shanto, please.
You answer a lot of questions, that I intend to ask, and like smeltings and building and so other things. Also, you have to contribute to the community a whole lot, 7.5 million yearly, every year, right? And so support by school and so on and so forth. If everything goes well, how long would it take you to build, get the thing started and running, because your local might be shorter than you expected? How about the cost involved?
How long to get like a full-blown MRF up and running? So, again, not to...
Today, we got the same issue that he's got. Building MRFs, getting equipment, and to fill that
With
MRF.
lead time?
We get the building built and stuff like that. It's getting the equipment now is
Right.
I think it would be unfair to try to guess, really, in regards to, it's like even trying to build a house today, right? Or it used to take 4 months, something like that. Now it's, we'll get you in there in 18 months. So it's hard today to, I think, try to give you a reasonable expectation of what it would take in time span to do that.
permitting and everything, yeah.
Sure, yeah. If everything went swimmingly, right? Yeah.
What type of MRF are you talking about building? For whose trash?
So is,
What kind of recycling facility are you talking about? Is that what you're talking?
Are we talking about a recycle facility? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
Basically, is that the same?
Yeah, we're talking about a single stream recycling facility. That's what.
No trash, just recycling. Is it just for Rutherford County, or is it for everybody?
Well, we would hope that we'd have a dynamic program enough with all 4 cities coming on board that a recycling facility could be supported by the 4 cities here, the major cities, and then, everybody. And the other part of it is business. So you get all the businesses, mandatory recycling, et cetera. I think that MRF supports itself.
Or what's your vision point to bring this county possibility of importing recycling from Davidson County or other places, which you again spin off cash for you all to use to reinvest for community programs, for education, for your priority projects, for your constituents. That opportunity absolutely exists without having to limit yourself just to the facility here in Rutherford County.
Other than doing this for Rutherford County to maybe influence getting our county landfill, why would it even make sense for y'all to invest in that and not continue to just bury your trash in a 50-year expansion?
If you read anything about where our company is today, where it's going, it's all more about sustainability and where we're going over the long haul. And that doesn't preclude burying the trash, but that's not the direction the company is moving in. And in any of our public reports, any of our investment reports, people that are invested in us as to where we're going, they know that's the direction we're going. We're not going, there are not a lot of brand new landfills being built across the country, and our people know that, and we're more into a different model, business model, which is transitioning as everything's transitioning over time, but we're more into finding sustainable solutions for our customers, for the citizens, for the communities that we serve, and to make it a place where our employees want to be proud of the place they go to work at.
Should your landfill at Walter Hill fill up? Are y'all just going to give up on the Middle Tennessee area because you make comments about the airspace is pretty limited in your other landfills? Are you just going to move out of the Middle Tennessee area when they all fill up? You're not going to search for a new location or
No,
anything?
we're going to continue to, I apologize, were you
Go
finished?
ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, we're going to continue to operate. We're going to continue to grow. We'll continue to be adding employees, right? And there's, as everyone knows, right, Rutherford County and Davidson County, the surrounding counties, they continue to grow, and they're going to continue to do that, and we're going to be a part of that.
So it might be fair to say if the landfill at Walter Hill should close, and maybe the other 3 or whatever y'all said a while ago fill up pretty fast, there will still be a new landfill somewhere else in a proximity rather than all the way across.
I don't think there'll be a new landfill.
Yeah, there's not going to be a new landfill. I think what you're going to find is, like in our scenario, we would end up diverting, right? So you're going to have the transportation out of Davidson County, out of Rutherford County to other sites in the nearby area.
And I think that's an important point,
Yep.
right? So, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about controlling destiny, and today we have an opportunity partnering with y'all to be able to do that, and your RFP looks, I mean, you guys are going in the right direction. And I think that, what we have provided is basically what was asked in regards to making sure to check off every single box when you looked at recycling and where are we going to dispose of waste and a few other things. And so we feel like we've done that. Keeping in mind, just like we said during the presentation, if there's twists and turns and different things that you find are going to be more important, we can sit down at the table to try to negotiate that piece, right? Let's understand what's going to be best for the future, because we're going to continue to grow as a community, just like we are as an organization. And so right now we control that destiny. And I think that that's what we're hopefully trying to come across to everyone here, is we have an opportunity, I think, kind of shape our future. And part of that is not just, the landfill is going to continue to operate. As Mike said, that landfill is going to have to be monitored, and it is going to be somewhat operational long after all of us in this room are probably gone, right? Because it's part of the requirements. But right now, I think we have an opportunity to try to shape what is going to make most sense for everyone in the future.
But even in diversion, there's still going to be stuff that's going to have to go to a landfill, and if they're all closed, where are you going to take it?
Several sites. I mean, Mike can talk to that.
That's a luxury that we have.
That's a luxury that we have as an organization.
Right.
We can continue to operate. We have sites that we can divert our waste streams that come in off our trucks to, and we'll continue to have that. Of course, as Dan talked about and as Mike's spoken about, our organization wants to be environmentally responsible, and we'll continue to look at ways to do that that make economical sense. But we'll continue to be providing services in this area for a long time, and it's because we have options to take the trash that's coming in off the backs of our trucks to other locations, even if Middle Point Landfill were to close down.
I appreciate y'all answering my questions. Thank you.
Steve?
If the 4 cities in Rutherford County were to set those requirements, that 341,000, I believe it is, was our census. That's what they say, 100 tons of, no, it's be 341,000 tons a year that's just off our citizens, and plus the industry. I mean, if y'all run numbers that way, if we put those things into place and the cities put those things into place, that not putting anybody out of business that collected the trash in Rutherford County, but it would all come to this MRF, this landfill, this component, whatever we're talking about here, wherever that's located, or if it's located in different locations. I mean, is that enough to run the MRF and to do what you're talking about doing without other counties?
That's what we ran our models on.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, but but that's what you're saying. We've got to put some things in place as far as city and county that's in Rutherford County, is to make sure that all of this trash then comes to this location, and that cuts everybody out of out-of-county waste coming into Rutherford County.
Back?
What they're telling you is we're going to have more than a little skin in the game. We're going to have some fingernails and some knuckles and some other things going on, too.
I was just going to say teeth.
Well, teeth, that'll work,
My
too.
son's in dental school, so I was like, you need some teeth in you.
There's well over 200 closed landfills in the state of Tennessee. Most all of them have environmental issues because most all of them were not lined. Somewhere in our future, probably within our lifetime, you're going to see those pieces of property get re-permitted into new landfill space. It's going to become enough space needed and enough money spent for it that it's going to be worth doing it. I think we're a little bit ahead of the ball game trying to do it with ours, but what we're trying to do with ours, if one company can come in and figure out how to do ours and get it taken care of, there's 199 more across the state that we'll be waiting on them to come do that one too.
All right, anybody else? Are you reaching, Robert, or are you contemplating?
Didn't have a question, just wanted to thank you guys for putting up with our questions. We've drug y'all through the ringer a few times. Before this is over with, I suspect we will some more.
Yeah.
But, that's our job, and it's your job. And, I respect your position, and I understand it, and I think that you respect and understand ours. And neither side is a pushover. Let's put it that way.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I got a couple closing comments. I want to remind everybody, too, that in these proposed monthly prices, we kind of glazed over it, but this roughly $18 a month on that low-end column, that does include managing our convenience centers. We didn't really talk about that tonight, but that is part of that pricing of that $40-some a month. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Here's some of the takeaways, I think, or next steps. It sounds like the model that you guys proposed was based on the 340-some thousand tons, basically, for Rutherford County only. So I don't know that I need to ask this next question, but I'm going to, and then you tell me, no, we've already done that. Commissioner P. and I know Commissioner Piercy and others have said, look, can you run the scenario if you stop taking outside county trash in just Rutherford County? We talked about that early on this evening. And yeah, you could do that, but it may cost us, instead of $40 a month, it may cost us $400 a month. Don't know, just throwing a number out. Is that trap worth running? Is that a couple hours worth of ciphering to do that and report back to us, or?
Well, one of the things that has to be considered is obviously we're in binding agreements right now.
Yeah, those have to run out,
Those
sure.
have to run their course.
Okay.
And so I think trying to look at it as though it is just for Rutherford County, could we go back in preparation of the next discussion and come back and say, hey, listen, yeah, sure, we can run some models to give you some perspective.
Okay. I think the curiosity is that number just like stupid through the roof, and let's just end that discussion? Or, hey, maybe that's something we could live with if everybody ponied up.
And would you be referring to just because we obviously, with our transfer station that we have in Nashville, there's multiple counties that run through that end up here.
I guess give us best case scenario that would satisfy some of the committees.
Restricted it just to Rutherford County. Is that
100% restriction's a harsh thing, because I know you have business commitments. Yeah. Yeah. Robert or Steve, can you help me out on that? I'm just trying to see if it's something that we could afford to do.
Is your obligation with Metro or all the other counties that come to Metro, to the receiving station down there?
Yeah, the only contractual one is, and I don't want to misspeak, so I apologize.
Sure,
Metro is the one that is going to be the majority.
About a 7-8 year contract obligation there, somewhere close.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Could you not work us a figure to continue to take Metro's trash and Rutherford County's trash only? Since you're already obligated to Metro and contract?
We could run it a couple of different ways. It may, quite frankly, be easier to say what would the numbers look like with, say, if the Metro agreement expired and they looked for alternative sites. It may be easier for us to say, okay, we know what that average tonnage is. With that specific agreement, let's go ahead and set that to the side. Now what would the cost look like to Rutherford County? So that would probably be an easier model for us to look at. I mean, we can slice it just about any way you want to look at it.
It would be cheaper if you continued to let Metro come, would it not?
Yeah, because as part of the host agreement, and I'm not as well versed as these gentlemen, but that's what it pays for today. Absolutely. Pays for the free disposal today.
Work us some numbers up on that. Letting Metro and Rutherford County finish filling your landfill. Or not. Said you had 8 to 10 years and you got 7 to 8 year contract with Metro, so that would fulfill your contract.
Let me remind you of one thing. They've mentioned it multiple times. We have not. Our host agreement says we have free disposal at Middle Point Landfill as long as it is opened. If we make any other agreement, I guarantee you free goes away. We're going to pay something. It may be a whole lot cheaper than anybody else, but free will not exist.
Correct.
Just along that line, just is your gross revenue at Middle Point published?
Thank you, Mac, and thank you, Phil. So I think our next step is we will sit down with the other stakeholders, the other 4 cities that are, or the 4 cities that are involved. And then the stakeholders are going to have to come to a real agreement as to who's going to participate. And then from there, we'll have some legitimate numbers or tons that we can come back and say, this is the range that everybody can work with. And then the negotiations can start really as to, okay, with this amount of tonnage, we can do this, we can't do this, we can partner, no need to partner, we can build, not build, or with these kind of tonnage, it may be 5 years before you're ready to do that. I think that'll get us closer as to what the picture's going to look like. And then Mac brings up a good question in terms of, well, yeah, we want our stuff to be free forever, and we want to increase our host fees. Naturally, we want to do that. So that'll be part of the negotiation, too. So we have our own due diligence to do, but we've got to get our cities on board and all be pulling the wagon in the same direction. But thank you all. Mac, did you want to, no, it's Robert, you want to say something else?
Well, you asked Mr. Piercy about, how we felt about the outside trash. And something I want to point out, we've been down this road for a couple of years now. In some of our first meetings, we had community meetings. One of those, SOCM, which was one of the groups there, and one of the things that they wanted us to do was to do a regional. So basically, they wanted us to continue to use, say, for instance, Metro. Now, my personal feelings is I don't want their traffic. I don't really want their trash, but if we can do it on the border between us where we don't have the upkeep on these roads, that might be something I would entertain as far as using their materials in a MRF that is not going to be smelling up the area. You know, these MRFs that are out there now, we visited them. You're not getting a lot of smell from outside. If we can bring trash in, and as was mentioned earlier, that's something that we could possibly make money from on those recyclables. I don't think that's something we need to just throw out the window, but there's a lot of buts to that. You know, I don't want the roads, the traffic compounded. You know, that's the main thing that I had against several of the people that presented here is they wanted to explode the amount of traffic that's coming out Jefferson Pike. Yeah. And that's the last thing I want to do is put more traffic on Jefferson Pike. I mean, it's nice that the state's building this nice new road down Jefferson from 840, but I don't want to put any more traffic on it than we are now. But
I think long-term solution, having been out there again today, is Jefferson Pike. We would look at reconfiguring the total entrance because we got to get, you know, when things get busy, things get backed up there. That's got to change, and we've looked at that, and we've looked at more than enough configurations of that as to how that can get done. I think that's critical. And then I thought it was ironic today. I saw people flying down that road about 70 miles an hour past the landfill thing, but glad to see the sheriff's office down there gave two tickets while I was watching. So it was like. That is something that we're very cognizant of, given where it's at and the traffic load. Just as I've watched over the last 5 years, I bet you it's quadrupled on that road.
But my final word is, I want to be able to continue to control our own destiny from here within this county, us and our municipalities, because we're the people that have been, I'll say, we've been benefiting from free tipping. But we've also been suffering, taking everybody else's waste, paying for the roads, the infrastructure, and as long as we can continue to control that, you know, I'll be okay probably with just about whatever we come out with here, within the limits of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, well said. Michael, Derek, Dan, thank you once again. We will be in touch in regards to a next group meeting with the stakeholders. But thank you all, and this was very enlightening. You did give us some new information to sleep on, so I want to thank you all very much. So you guys are dismissed. Rachel, will you remind our committee when our next meeting is?
September 30th, they're meeting with Waste Away.
Okay. And then there's one more after that,
And
correct?
October the 12th is Waste Management.
Okay. All right. Any comments, business, breakfasts, anything like that? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.